I'll just delete it off YouTube later.
All right.
We're back, guys. The Make Your Move podcast. We've got Be Concerned back today. It's awesome because we had these guys on the first time to do this stuff. And they were gracious enough to come back for us, and we had all sorts of technical difficulties. And then also, let's name them off. We've got, with Be Concerned, we got Andy, we got Dave, and now Josh Stokey over here. It's taking a little bit of a roll over with you guys.
Not just the roles, one of my bosses. He's on the board of directors.
Board of directors.
That's what they say.
Wow.
Yeah, that's who actually runs the charities.
Right. So, if you guys are not familiar with Be Concerned, the last time and let's go over the story. The first time I ever worked with Be Concerned, they were feeding over it was like 1,900 families or something like that. And then the next time we come back, they corrected me and they're like, no, actually we're like 2,500. And then the third time when they came on the podcast last, they were around like 3,000. So 3,000 families here in the Northern Kentucky area, real families and poverty areas, and not even that, like just regular people. Like anybody can sign up for them, and he'll go into that deeper here. But they've dedicated their professional life to making sure people are getting fed, and they have an arrangement of ways they raise money, and they have fun ways they raise money. I've been involved in some awesome projects doing video for them, and like with Dave Lapham in his basement, filming and stuff. Filming the Bengals stadium and all that. So they really go the extra mile, and they use social media and they use creativity to try to raise money for these people. I'm going to let Andy take this because he's the best at explaining what Be Concerned does. So give us a a little 5-minute to 10-minute. I know you're good at this. Let's see if we can get a timer on him. Give me your 5-minute version of Be Concerned.
Sure. So obviously it's my favorite place. One, for the past almost 13 years, I've had the blessing of working there. But Be Concerned's a basic charity, and I love that. So we started back in 1968 as what was called the Christmas Store. We started out of the request from Covington people. So Covington people showed up at a church and said, hey, we need help with Christmas. And it was the people that said, we'll go ahead and run a Christmas program. I love our claim to fame. That's kind of the model that started everything we do today, which it was taking people that needed help and then giving them a hand up and not a handout. So we were the first program in that Christmas store that let families come in and pick out their gifts and pick out their food. We didn't give white families white baby dolls and black girls black baby dolls. We let the families come in and pick them because who knows their family better than the family themselves. As that story went forward, more and more families came every December for the Christmas store help. Years down the road, it became apparent again from the people, it's terrific that the Christmas store is helping us in December, but what happens when my husband lost his job in June? Where's the help that I can get there? Yeah. So the request came, can you take that dignity model of the Christmas store, that choice model of letting people pick what they need, and can you make that a year-round monthly food pantry for people in Covington to come to? And of course, our volunteers and founder Betty Zimmer said yes to that. So in 1987, the Christmas store grew to become Be Concerned Inc.'s year-round free food program that still housed the Christmas store. And then fast forward to today, we've added a thrift store that does clothing and household goods for people. We do a mobile food delivery because one of the big things now is people aren't living in the urban core as Covington develops. People are moving out as the housing price goes up. So we found ways to deliver food into kind of the pockets in Northern Kentucky where families need them. Not everybody that needs food lives in a pocket of poverty either, right? They live in our neighborhoods. Kentucky's got a 1 out of 5 food insecurity rating still. So we deliver direct to door to a lot of seniors and homebound people that don't live in a site-based facility or a pocket of poverty, but they just need people to bring them groceries once a month. We still have our model with a once-a-month food pantry. People come in and make their choices. Now we run it off a click list model because we have so many more families coming than we did in the 80s, 90s, and all the way up until 2020.
So they can choose their food?
Yeah, so they choose the food. So we come up with kind of staples, so like fruits, vegetables, but you go through the menu and pick which fruit you want.
That way it's not wasted. Because
Bingo.
I know a lot of the churches, they give away free bags of food, and honestly, half of the food's not even eaten.
It's always shit.
Canned
food
it's shit
crap.
to us because, we can go to the store and buy it, but when you can't go to the store and buy food, it's not shit to them because I was raised off of church food. We would eat it all the way down the powdered milk. So
But what I was getting
mean,
at is like they go after like getting meat and like
Yeah, it's been the
not
evolution.
just
That's
not
pretty
just
cool, though,
peanut
that
butter
you
and
can
beans
choose.
and
Right,
canned
it's
beans.
the evolution of the food pantry business. So that's one of the things that we've worked to destigmatize as we've grown into what we are now. And now we're the region's largest and longest operating free food pantry. So we're taking care of about 2,400 to 3,000 families every month between those programs that I mentioned, as well as the thrift store voucher program. But what I take a ton of pride in is what we give out and how we do it, right? So we're a low barrier charity. You sign up by giving us a piece of mail with your name and address and then something with your kid's name on it. Once you do that, you're good to come to us for as long as you need us. We have had some families that have been with us since 1968. They came to the first Christmas store as children to get their Christmas help, and they are still coming as senior adults to get that help every single month. But it's been that destigmatization of food pantry, which typically is bread and canned goods in people's mind. You know, it's that leftover food from the grocery stores.
Right.
Take what you get and don't throw a fit.
Yeah.
And that has been
Yeah.
what Be Concern's been
Yeah.
committed
That's
against.
what I was kind of
So our food pantry spending budget for 2025 actual cash is $475,000. So every time a family comes, they get about $150 worth of marketable grocery store items. Those are canned goods, but it's fresh produce. We buy fresh produce every week from a place in Cincinnati that serves all the restaurants. Freeze Brothers has been a great partner for us.
Nice.
We buy eggs too from them. So even like the egg crisis of 2025, we just bought them. We were paying the $7.50 a dozen to make sure people had them. Frozen meats we buy from vendors if we don't get them donated, and then we partner with other places like Last Mile Food Rescue, which stocks our lobby food program, which is kind of one of our newer ones that we run. Because one of the things with that many families coming for help, we can't just serve people once a month anymore. So the biggest flavor for Be Concerned now is, as the community has said, it's great that you're serving us like you always have, but with inflation being what it is, with what our rates of pay being what it is, and with what our rents being what they are now, we really need food more than once a month. And so about 2 years ago, we expanded a trial model of putting overflow food in our lobby. So all the rescued food we get from like Kroger and Meijer and Walmart, and families can just come in Monday through Friday from 1 to 3 and access that food. And they just have to tell us what county they're from and how many people are in their household. So we're beta testing that right now. But as Dave mentioned pre-podcast, on any typical day right now, we have about 50 scheduled food pantry appointments Tuesday through Friday, but the lobby is getting used between 40 and 80 times directly over top of that. So it's a dual-fold. One, we're able to meet people's need from 1 to 3 in an emergency setting, but also when our pantry shoppers are shopping that clickless model now, they're still shopping our upgraded lobby of all the overflow food, so they're still making their choices. If they don't want it, they don't take it.
That's awesome.
But yeah, $475,000 cash food budget. It's our biggest one of all time. If you add the in-kind in, so all the donated food stuff we'd have to actually buy if we didn't get it donated, that food pantry budget's about $2 million, believe it or not. The whole agency budget's just north of $3. It's $3.2 million this year. And for our whole history, we've been privately funded. And recently, we are partnered with the Boone, Kenton, and Campbell County fiscal courts to help make sure all residents in the Tri-Counties have access to food throughout the course of the year.
Wow.
That's awesome. So when did you start?
So about 13 years ago, I believe, is when I came to Be Concerned in a
about you?
transition.
I've been there for 5 years. Andy pulled me out of Florida during COVID. So I was working for a homeless agency down in Clearwater area, and Andy called me, said that his site director in the old Erlanger building had left, and he always wanted to work with me. Andy and I worked together a long time ago in Covington, helping homeless folks down here. So we had always kind of wanted to work together, and I just signed an apartment lease in St. Pete, and he called me and said, the thing about the Erlanger site, and I said, well, Andy, I just signed an apartment lease. I can literally walk my dog to the Tampa Bay in like less than 5 minutes. I was like, I don't know if I can come and do this. And then that day, Ron DeSantis got on and shut the beaches down. I said, I might as well live in Alabama, right? So like, I might as well move back to Kentucky. So I called him back like 3 hours later.
Yeah.
So it was just kind of the way it worked. And then I also
Destiny.
and that's how I ended up with my wife too. So
Dave ended up with a U-Haul, accepted the job formally on Friday, and reported to work on Monday morning, actually, from Florida, fully moved up
Yeah.
here. Yeah.
I mean,
Great story. I did not know.
yeah, with no beach,
Something new every time.
with no beach,
Love it.
what's the point of moving? Living in Florida, right? Like you couldn't even go to the park anymore. Like you couldn't do anything. So
Yeah, I realized the difference in the lives we were living is I was in a work van at Walmart trying to beg, borrow, and steal extra toilet paper for the pantry, and Dave's on the beach interviewing over Zoom for the job, and I was like, oh man, I
Well,
got to get more friends up
and
here.
it was like something for me too, because like what I was doing at that time. I mean, I know it's easy for us to all forget. COVID's in the rear view right now, but like what I was doing at the time was like driving like homeless veterans from a VA hospital to a place basically where they were set up with like therapy, food, and a like a sequestered like hotel room, because they were severely sick. I was driving around in a hazmat suit, and it was a very, very sad situation I was dealing with down there. So, like when Andy called, I had all these things going. The beach was nice, Florida's nice, but once I shut the beaches down and I saw a better opportunity, and like I said, I'd worked with Andy for a while back in the day, so we always worked well together, and I thought that was a great opportunity. So, again, once all that went down, I decided to pack up and come back to Kentucky. So,
That's awesome.
This is always, to me, I think it takes a special person, a motivated person, one with a heart the size of Texas, the way I look at, to do a food pantry, to get in this industry. And and if people don't realize this, and I've got to know both of these guys better throughout the years. I mean, there's a lot that goes into this, and it's 24/7, 365. It's a real thing. Could you all kind of elaborate, like, how did you get into this? What was your passion? Was there something that happened in your life that you're like, hey, this means
Yeah, you guys
something?
met feeding the homeless. What got you out there in the
Yeah.
first place, feeding the homeless?
Yeah, so I'm from the west side of Cincinnati, is my story. So I grew up and went to Catholic schools. So I went to grade school at Our Lady of Lourdes in Westwood, and then I went to Elder High School, went to the College of Mount St. Joseph, now Mount St. Joseph University. I always thought I was going to be the idiot that just played football and went on to med school. So, when I was that's all I cared about. I always had good grades, but I just wanted to play football in college and go on to med school. That's what I wanted to do. So I went to Mount St. Joe and started doing that track. I was an athletic training major to start because they don't have med school at that college. You have to do a special track of like hard and soft sciences.
Yeah.
So I started in athletic training at the Mount. After that was done, I transitioned to chemistry and physics to get my hard science credits, and then I quit playing football. And when I quit playing football, I saw a bunch of my friends starting to kind of get in trouble with having too much time on their hands. And then I also realized I was losing my free credit. So a lot of people in college sports don't realize, even in Division III sports, if you play a sport, you get a college credit because it takes so much time out of your schedule to do. I'm cheap. I had almost all my scholarship to the Mount, but I had a semester I messed around and didn't have it covered. I didn't want to pay for credits. So I went to the Mount Service Learning Office with the nun, Sister Mary Bookser, and I said, what can I do to replace kind of this credit? And she talked about the Service Learning Program. It's a +1 service learning program where you can do 30 hours of service at a charity partner in the tri-state and journal about it and do some extra, and they give you a credit for that as experiential learning. I think I maxed that program out by the time I was done, and I won a few things. So they started me as a tutor in an after-school program, and that was fine, but that's where I realized I wasn't a teacher. Does. And then when the Bodies exhibit was in Cincinnati, they placed me there because of my athletic training background at the time, and I understood that stuff. So I got to wear the coat around and walk people around the Bodies exhibit at the museum, and that was fun. But for me, it was like an experience, but it wasn't a service experience. So my third service experience, I went to Sister Mary Bookser, and I said, listen, there's got to be a place that people are afraid to go. There's got to be a place that's hurting for younger volunteers. Is there a dangerous place that we're friends with? And at that time, Over the Rhine was ranked as the #1 most dangerous zip code in the United States. USA Today ran it. You had a 33% chance of a violent one-on-one crime being committed against your body, as they described it. So I said, sign me up for that soup kitchen right down there in Findlay Market. So I started Our Daily Bread's soup kitchen right outside of Findlay Market and Over the Rhine. My very first day volunteering there, I worked the coffee line. And once I worked the coffee line, I got to see a bunch of people our age getting help and a bunch of senior citizens helping them in the volunteer line. Like, who's going to run these places next? And then at that time, there was a TED Talk that talked about the overhead myth of nonprofits, the fact that nonprofits don't always attract the finest minds out of college because of the sacrifice for wealth that we'll make over our careers.
Yeah.
And at that point, I went to my counselor and told him, listen, I think I can run one of these places one day, and I'd really like to. Switch me to whatever degree gets me out of this place on time. And as of that day, I switched to communication studies major, ended up graduating the Mount that way. I had 3 majors in 4 years, played football, and still finished on time. But that was kind of my story.
A lot of work.
Our Daily Bread hired me. I got engaged on graduation day. My fiance and I, my wife now of 14 years, we met in poetry class at the Mount. Got engaged on graduation day.
Poetry class.
Ronald McDonald House hired me as a junior in high school, seeing some of this press about this kid at the Mount that was doing community service work. So I worked 3rd shift at Ronald McDonald House, 1st shift at Our Daily Bread Soup Kitchen, and then I started coaching high school football at Western Brown. About a year later, Welcome House in Northern Kentucky gave me a job. I needed a full-time job. I was part-time at Our Daily Bread and part-time at Ronald McDonald House. So I stuck around. I came to full-time to Welcome House and came to Covington, still stayed at Ronald McDonald House. And then at that point, I knew I wanted to be an executive director one day. A couple years down the road, the Be Concerned job came posted through the Safety Net Alliance in Northern Kentucky. Paul Gottbrath, who's our current grants director, he wanted to retire from the role of executive directorship. I applied. They didn't give me an interview. I called. It's one of Paul's favorite stories. I kind of fought for myself and wanted to know why. What else could I have done? At that point, I got a call back for a practice interview with Be Concerned and the board because they thought a young guy like you, it would be good to come get some experience. I went up to Rudler CPA firm, interviewed with the board. I remember I called my dad out in the parking lot afterwards and said, how come the practice ones are always so easy? If that was real, I'd definitely have the job. And the next day I was living in Cheviot. I was installing a window unit air conditioner. My wife called and said, hey, that Paul guy from Covington's calling your cell phone. She held it up to my ear and Paul said, well, we had our board meeting last night. I wanted to thank you for interviewing. The board unanimously hired you. So you started a month.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, so that's kind of my story.
So that practice interview was the easy, full interview.
It ended up being the real deal. So
Nice.
I think I was the 6th person out of a 5-person candidate roster they had already pre-selected. And then as Paul says, that's how they knew I'd fight for Be Concerned and our people was because I was willing to fight for myself. And I was willing to take no for an answer, but not if yes was the right one. And that has become our motto at Be Concerned is find a way to the yes. Don't take no if it's the wrong answer because we can all say yes. We don't have to say no. And the last thing to address what you're talking about is the 501c3 is a tax status, not a business model. And we'll go into that after Dave kind of gives his story about what drew him into this. But that's a big focus of why Be Concerned's done so well in the community and how we've been able to grow. Is our board and leadership understands that the tax status is a tax status for us. You can't run a really good charity without a really strong business model.
Huge
Yeah, it's a
fire.
business model, and it's working to feed families.
You looking
And
for
that's
another
what's
part-time
needed.
job?
Yeah.
Well, and that's
You can
what's
sell
always-
roofs for me if you want.
So that's why we're not talking COVID anymore, is because we realized we talked COVID for so
Good at
long at Be
this.
Concerned, and that's not our finest work anymore. I can tell you when I lived down there, we can tell you when the National Guard got deployed. They deployed the National Guard to 1,320 families being served in 3 weeks. Like I said, 2,400 is kind of just a regular lock, stock, and barrel month for us now.
Yeah.
That you're used to. Let's hear your
It's
story,
incredible,
bud.
man. You've done a fantastic job.
Hell
with it,
yeah.
man.
Yeah.
I love it. It's my life, so that's why I tell people too.
Yeah,
The
you have
place-
a major
We can
passion.
tell.
The place
I can
invested
tell
in
that
me,
it's your
yeah,
life,
and I
man.
invested in
You're
it. No,
passionate.
I'm not the guy I tell colleges all the time. If you're going to talk self-care, I am not the local leader to talk about self-care because I've been married to the game the entire time I've been married to Steph, and she understands that. At the end of the day, I'm not the best self-care person because, like you said, it is 24/7, 365. And I'm sure Dave will talk later in the podcast when we get to fundraising about what those 2 o'clock phone calls really look like the first time they come.
So Dave handles fundraising, what you said right there, and I'm glad that you went right there because I love how you guys fundraise, and that's comes from the creativity of Dave. I've got to get involved in it a couple times. I handle the golf outing that they do annually, usually do video for them and stuff. Last time we tried the podcast. I told you guys I would start coming and doing the video as part of my donation, and we fulfilled that this year and got some video and photos for you guys. Crashed my drone in the middle of it though.
Yes.
Which was hard. So, but yeah, I love what Dave comes up with. And then another thing was the last time we had the podcast, I gave Dave my beloved Michael Jordan card collection. So I want to update on what he's done with that. And I want to talk about everything that you do, all these creative ideas, and all the like famous people that you get involved, and how you try to get some famous people involved with some creative ideas.
Oh, yeah,
hit
yeah.
me with it.
So, you want me to go into my story about how I got? Okay.
Yeah, so I gotta find out how you
So,
ended up here.
all right. So, I grew up in Fairfield, Ohio. So I'm an Ohio boy as well. I played football, did the high school thing. I mean, I didn't grow up in too much of a religious household or anything like that. But I ended up going to Thomas More. I really wanted to play football. I honestly never thought about going to college without playing football. I went to Thomas More, got involved with some like service learning. I ended up being a sociology major. I kind of let the courses speak to me, and I thought sociology was very interesting. So I ended up going to the border a couple times down to Juarez, Mexico, with a couple professors, and I ended up going to Jamaica a few times just doing service learning.
Oh, I remember that stuff. Yeah, I remember
so-
going on those trips.
Those are really like formative trips for me. Just kind of like seeing, getting out there and seeing the world for what it is, and not just believing everything that you see around here and everything you see, I'm just learning that there are all kinds of different people around the world as well, right? Just because someone doesn't have this or that doesn't make them any different than you.
In different
It's-
cultures. And,
Right.
like what we are fine with is different from what they're fine with.
Right. You
Like,
know,
we're like, oh, you don't have, this and that. And they're like, what the hell I need that for?
yeah, seeing houses with like rebar sticking out the top because they don't have the money to finish that project or whatever. It'll happen at some point. Right? We'll get
They
the
don't
money.
care.
It's
We're
fine.
like,
Yeah, we
who
don't
cares
care.
about that? House is standing.
But yeah, so like, doing that kind of stuff really kind of opened my eyes. And then my first job out of college was at Redwood School. It's now Redwood Easter Seals. And I was working with people with severe disabilities, trying to help them get jobs to do. And it's a little different than your average, like, what we would do for a living. But that was really good. It didn't pay all that great. This is also, I'm 43 now, so that was quite a while ago.
Yeah.
That was 20 years ago. I ended up going into the corporate world. I was a manager for FedEx for a while. That was absolutely awful for me. I worked second and third shift for a couple years.
Oh, wow.
Then I left there. I went into sales. I am not a salesman at all. 'Cause I just don't care about making money for other people necessarily. I do, for what we do, raising money for us. But I do not care for, making money for like corporate entities or whatever. So I worked
You're a
for
marketer.
I worked
You
for
got
some,
marketing blood in you.
yeah, I worked for some of the big corporations in Cincinnati. I won't go into them or whatever, but I ended up working at the Center for Independent Living Options in Covington. It used to be in the what is now the old Mayfest parking lot. They used to have Mayfest down there,
yeah.
the old Main Strauss building. But that's where I started working with people experiencing homelessness. I met Andy, him and I, fun story. The first time we really kind of hung out, we went down to help someone navigate the system is what we call it. We certified someone homeless in a parking lot on the border of, was it Grant and Scott County or something like that?
Yeah, Welcome House could certify people homeless in 9 counties, and for some reason other partners can only do 8. So me and Dave had to go.
Yeah, we had to make someone eligible to get an apartment, right? So they had to be eligible. They had to be certified, documented homeless for us to be able to give them our funding. So we rode down to this gas station together, got to talking, and I always liked working with Andy because for my job, I had the housing, I had the money for that. He had the people, right? So he was the one who got me his paperwork on time. He's the one who got people housed. Other people were dragging their feet on, just bits and pieces of documentation. He always
Yeah.
had his stuff ready to go. So we worked very well together. So I kind of like that, and for me, it was always, what am I going to be able to go to bed feeling good about myself at night doing, right? And that's what the impact that I got from all that was like. I felt good about what I did for a living. Like, now I ended up getting into Be Concerned because I've worked with people experiencing homeless quite a bit throughout my career. I was a case manager at the Center for Independent Living Options. I moved to Florida after my dad passed away. I kind of needed a reset, so I lived in St. Pete area for 5 years. I was a supervisor of a homeless program. We had a $13 million budget, and I was overseeing 15 different employees. Again, that's where I met my wife. I did not say anything to her because we worked together, but I did holler at her once COVID happened, and I moved back to Kentucky. So I have to give Andy all the credit for that. Andy and Ron DeSantis. If it wasn't for those guys, I wouldn't be married. But so I moved back here, and working with homeless folks for most of my life, like. It's kind of a difficult deal at times, right? But what I love about Be Concerned is sometimes we say, like, we're a help you agency, not a fix you agency. It's really hard to fix somebody, right? Especially
Yeah.
being a young kid trying to fix someone and say, hey, you got to do this, you got to do that. Like, at the end of the day, like, all I really want to do is help people. And that's kind of what I really, really love about Be Concerned. It's easy to raise money and try to raise money for Be Concerned because it's a simple story to tell, right? People come, ask for food, we give them food, right? They ask for clothing, we give them clothing. We're not trying to do a ton other than just, help make their ends meet, right? It's a lot of people that we see now, and Andy's kind of touched on it, but they're not people you'd imagine coming to a food pantry. We see people coming in their work clothes, all the time. So it's a lot different from what people probably imagine. And then once I moved on from Erlanger, Andy and I kind of had conversations about me becoming the development director over there. And I would say my job has even kind of shifted more as to be in marketing, fundraising.
Yeah.
So that's where I got, and Andy's let me run. To his credit, he's let me run some crazy ideas I had. I think
Absolutely.
half of
He's
Covington.
He's letting you do your thing. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
I'm selling used cars now for Dave. That's what I'm doing.
Yeah, half of Covington. If you've ever driven by our building, you saw the wild Joe Burrow promposal sign we had up for a while because he happened to wear a sweatshirt one day. It was NASA, so I said, like, hey, it would send us over the moon if you would donate, like, I think he wore a floral suit one time, right?
Yeah.
And we wanted to see if he'd donate his floral suit to us so we could auction it off and raise money to feed people because he's obviously into feeding people, right? So that never really went anywhere, which is fine. We didn't really expect anything, but we thought it would be a fun.
It at least got some social media attention.
Yeah,
You know?
I mean,
Like we said, we know he knows about it. So at the end of the day, for us, that's all we can do. Some of the Bengals players lived up in the views, so it was a good strategy by Dave. Somebody was going to see it, and we do know on good authority that he's seen the photos of it. That players are giving him a hard time. The ball's in his court. I wanted to figure out if and when he wants to do something.
Joe, if you're
we
listening,
know for a fact it made it through his locker.
Yeah.
And actually, Saturday I have to go for the Bengals locker room tour for their new locker room with one of my friends. So I may bring that. I may bring it with me and his son, and we may roll that out and take a picture by his locker.
Yeah, and-
take the poster, roll it up so nicely in his locker, so you can roll it out and be like, oh, God damn, they infiltrated
the food pantry guys again. And he could probably hit Be Concerned's food pantry with a football from the practice stadium if he really wanted to.
Yeah, and then he let me write a couple like ingest like fine letters to like Jamar Chase because he punted a ball, and he actually said in the press conference like he wanted to get fined. So I did my part, and I sent him a fine letter. Said, here you go, it's $5,000. You can help provide toys for our Christmas store or whatever. Now I don't know if that ever got delivered to him or whatever, but some of the fun things that we've tried to do in the past. But part of that is upcoming here in about a month. We're probably going to launch our season ticket raffle. So that's one of the big fundraisers we've had for the last 3 years. Is we are actually going to raffle off a set of 4 season tickets to the Bengals.
And they're good tickets.
Yeah, they're end zone seats. So if you win that raffle, you're getting a set of 4 to the entire season, right? And everyone knows this is the year, right? This is the year they're going to win it all.
Is it the same setup as we filmed for?
Yeah, except for we just added 2 more tickets. So we
added
added
2
2 more tickets
So,
to
yeah.
that 2-ticket block.
I was going to say during the podcast, I can make a cut to that video and kind of advertise that for you there.
But yeah, we're still working on the marketing for that. I started designing stuff for it yesterday. But, other than that, the fundraising's been a lot of fun. Obviously working with Quentin has been a good thing, and Rook has been, personally, I've worked with all you guys, really. So, integrated back in
That's
the
what
community.
happens. Like, it's a team. We've all worked with each other.
But
so
yeah.
it's
Well, and it's relationship building, and I think that's what Dave's done well. I think that's what a lot of us has done well, is that a lot of people come in and they're too worried about things being black or white. So, what can we say? What can't we say? How do you give an agency tour? How do you explain what we do? At the end of the day, it's relationship building, and it's also selling the mission in a real human way to people. So like Dave said, it's meaningful what we do. It's humbling what we do. You don't have to dress it up. Like, there's not a whole lot of dressing up, feeding people, clothing people, and treating people in need with respect. If you notice, it's why we don't use low income. You guys haven't heard me and Dave talk about low income people at all.
Yeah.
Because we realized the food pantry is not just for low income people. It's one of those stigmas that had against it. And during COVID, we did learn that lesson. A lot of families educated us that even though their incomes are pretty high, their food security is tied to their debt. And when they couldn't work, they were still having their debt garnished out of whatever it was for bad bills they had. And, what do you do with a family that's making $80,000 a year but has $100,000 in bad debt? They're worse off than someone at zero income.
Right.
So, again, if you believe us, we help you. But like Dave said, it's all the relationship building. And that's been some of the fun stuff we've done over the last year, has been building rapport not only with the state and the Department of Charitable Gaming, but also local bars for electronic pull tabs, which have become newer to the state of Kentucky over the past few years. Everybody knows Bars and Bells. Everybody knows RIP tickets. A couple years ago, the state got rid of what they call gray machines and burning barrel machines, just illegal slot machines that were out in different establishments. And they said, well, they're illegal, but they could be legal if they were formatted a certain way and if they benefited a charity like state law, like bingo, for example, or a church festival. So on May 8th of 2024, Dave and I pulled the trigger on placing our first electronic pull tab machines, which are not slot machines. It is important, podcast community. They are not slot machines.
Do not misconstrue.
But they are electronic pull tab machines. So basically 25,000 preloaded Bars and Bells tickets inside. It feels like a casino. You have to touch twice, one to buy it, one to open it like a festival.
Yeah.
But that has led over the first year to about $800,000 in net fundraising efforts for us that have really helped us grow the staff, buy a new building, which we just bought 713 Pike Street. We'll be showcasing that tonight at our volunteer party. But that has given us some breathing room in a really tight business time, where a few years ago we were talking about, like, does Andy need to stop taking a paycheck for a little bit because inflation's so high and numbers are so high? So it's given us not only some breathing room and innovative fundraising, but another chance to make relationships with new volunteers. So the bartenders that supervise the gaming for us, they are actual Be Concerned volunteers. Like, they were invited to the party tonight.
Yeah.
Me and Dave think we'll see a couple of them showing up there. But the other thing that's led is not over-asking our current donors who've always supported us for when we need things.
Right.
So over-asking is a big problem now. So many people gave out everything they had during COVID, and they haven't kind of recouped that donation money over 5 years. That's $800,000 off of people that would not be giving money to us either way. So it's not coming off of the backs of charity donors, which is nice as well. So
Very
it's giving us some
creative
room
idea.
room to
Incredible.
think forward instead of, for too many years, we were in the 2-minute drill and we were just going 10 yards at a time. And now 2025 was the year taking a step back and saying, can we start to get a real second half game plan in instead of just running the 2-minute drill with me and Dave on the side, all the time, just running
Yeah,
everything.
yeah.
And then the opportunity to buy the new building comes, and we wrap that up in 3 weeks. So as I say, we'll have longer planning for everything. Some things just have to be done. But that's really been part of what
Is
a lot
that the
of what Dave's
building that
done.
you guys were using as a conference room, but you
No,
were
no,
kind of
no.
renting it? Or?
It's a bigger one, 2 doors up from that.
okay.
So as our board grew, so we
Renovated space, it's beautiful.
I've not
yeah, we
seen
rented
that.
the first one during COVID and it worked well. But then when we reestablished our full board and got back, that couldn't hold 20 board members. So, and as the agency grew, we needed more storage. We needed development offices. So
Yeah.
now that we have an operations staff that, does, as I say, is really running Be Concerns program, and Dave and I are more the faces of it, we don't need to have an office right in the front of the pantry anymore. So the operations staff has all the lead offices, we call them.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
the development crew's over above the boardroom's a 2-bedroom apartment. So we kind of call it our college dorm. Yeah, we just had the argument for the first time last week of who's cleaning the bathroom, right? Because we are a bunch of boys, so we only have one trash can. It is in the bathroom, so it does look like we eat lunch in the bathroom every single day because your McDonald's bag just goes in the bathroom trash. But yeah, I had to look around at our coworker and just say, Paul, there's only 3 of us up here, man. It's kind of like your house. If the bathroom's dirty, clean it. This is not an outward-facing space. But we have that as well. And the basement's all storage. So that's allowed Dave to be strategic with putting our
Yeah.
golf outing stuff parked in one spot, like tents and stuff for our backpacks giveaway, and then all of our Christmas goods that are stored in the basement for the
Yeah,
Christmas store.
and that will serve as our new home base for the Christmas store itself. The annual Christmas store is in that space, and it's a fantastic new addition.
Yeah,
to
and I think
Concern.
we're gonna brand it as the boardroom at Be Concerned, a community place and event space. I think we're trying to draw that. We've always wanted to be a community backbone agency. That's what the board challenged me with when they hired me, is they wanted to see Be Concerned always had great bones, but they wanted to see it grow up like a skyscraper, and that's what we've done. And again, a large part of that has been staying committed to a very basic mission,
Right.
respecting the humanity and dignity of all people while serving your Northern Kentucky neighbors with necessities for life. That gives us the freedom to help people in whatever way we want. So whether that's getting a car repair done at the Samaritan Car Clinic, whether that's putting $20 of gas in somebody's gas tank that just needs to get out to their new job out at Amazon, we have the freedom to find a way to the yes for our people. And I think that's a big reason why we've had community support for so long, is people have always liked the way that we do it. Because there's not a lot of red tape. And as Dave alluded to, we are fully aware that we're not a fix-you place. Like the sexiest thing that we do to try to fix people is if you're diabetic or pre-diabetic, we run a diabetic class that you can come to be educated on lifestyle changes. And if you go through that, you can come to us and we give you an extra bag of ground turkey, lean proteins, Laura's lean beef, eggs, all the high cost stuff to just try to help people avoid the carbs and go those lean proteins. But that's about as fix you as we get, is trying to make sure you have access to the right food for your diet.
And I kind of want to hone in on that a little bit to apply it to business because it's one of the reasons I was attracted to Be Concerned as well was, even in business, and this comes from a guy that I have a few different things that I do, but, a couple passive businesses and my focus is, real estate and just got on with Coit as well. But there's something to be said about specializing in a certain area and attacking that. And I think all of us can say we have all done that. And I think that's truly why Be Concerned that's one of the reasons it's really successful, because it's not getting twisted. This is what we're doing.
It's staying in its lane. And
Yes.
that is, I think, where our board and the leadership have always done a really good job of saying, this is the lane that we play in. We can start anything, right? Like senior transportation, to be honest, is becoming a major topic. We've talked about transportation for decades in Northern Kentucky. The fact that we're about to have twice as many senior citizens in the next 10 years and not twice as many social services to serve them. What's going to happen when my parents need Meals on Wheels the first time and they've never accessed that service? What's going to happen when one of them needs a ride? So taking a look down the road, and that's what we've told the county, if we don't have those programs, because that's not part of our mission. It's not part of what we do. We feed people, we clothe people. Down the road, if that becomes an overarching need, like a necessity for life for so many residents in Kenton County, That would be a conversation we would have with Kenton County to say if Kenton County's telling us it's a necessity for life for its residents, then we would have to evaluate rolling that under our mission statement. But that's the freedom I love with it. Right now, we're doing our box fan program. It's hot in the tri-state. We know that. A lot of our people are in apartments very similar to this that don't have a window unit. And so we sell subsidized box fans. We buy them for $18 and we sell them for $6 to people so they don't have to spend so much money on those. But it gives us the freedom to
What are
continue.
they?
Box fans.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, just window box fans for your house.
Gotcha. Okay, window box.
But that's what gives us the freedom to do the clothing vouchers and the thrift store vouchers because those are less than 2 years old. I mean, we used to do them on a smaller scale, but now they're a cash voucher for you, right? Because there's the American entrepreneurial spirit we talk about. So Q brought up his basketball cards. I collect old toys. You know, when I go to a yard sale and I score a box of Ninja Turtles and I get them for $10 and I take them to a toy show and sell them for $1,000, people call me a genius. I'm a super smart businessman. But man, if you did that to a charity, they would call you a thief, a criminal. So what happens is we've got stigma sometimes over a mom that'll come in to get a voucher for our thrift store, and maybe she gets a Coach purse. Maybe that's what she really needs. Maybe that's what she chooses. The old stigma of why does somebody need a really nice purse, people forget that mom can go put that on Facebook Marketplace, sell that for $400 and pay her rent, which is taking care of her family way better.
She might have a job interview to step her life up, and she
Bingo.
needs those things.
We've even gone so far as class reunions. So there are people that, you know, some of our homeless folks, they decide they're going to go to their Holmes High School reunion from 40 years ago, and they haven't worn a suit in, 30 years, and they'll come and we'll fit them out. Weddings, funerals, some people when their parents die, they've never worn a suit, but it becomes a real need for them.
Yeah.
Proms, a lot of our local kids come to get that stuff from us. But the cash vouchers give our people the opportunity to get what their family needs the most. Like we used to do it based off of 3 outfits for each person. But what would you do if your son just had a massive growth spurt and you didn't need 3 more outfits? Right? We shouldn't be telling you that it's 3 outfits per person in your house. We should be telling you that it's a $100 voucher for you to get the clothing that your family needs.
Yeah.
Because like my 11-year-old needs more clothing than my 7-year-old because we have hand-me-downs for the
Yeah,
7-year-old.
hand-me-downs
And
occur.
we don't have anything. So it makes sense. And for us, that's the freedom I love with our staff is we got to take a look in the mirror and say, if we were in the shoes of our customers asking for this kind of help and our lived experience that all of us have, how did we want to be treated in the situations where we needed help and things weren't done the right way? And so being able to take our own experience, thinking about how our staff would want to be treated and finding a way to the yes for those people has really been what I take a ton of pride in is just no matter what it's been for Be Concerned, if it's the right way to do, we do it first and we fund it second. And I think that's a really special thing with the agency.
Hell yeah,
Is
I
a
love
lot of
that.
people need lead money all the time to take the risk to do something, and I respect that. But we have always decided we're going to do it first,
Yeah.
and then the community is going to see that it's a proven need, and then people will support it. And that is how we've been supported since 1968, is doing it first and funding it second.
Wow.
What do you think? What do you think is your all's biggest challenge in today's space?
Trying to navigate an ever-developing city of Covington right now, and not even just Covington, but Kenton County as a whole. So, Kenton County's got limited property. There was, a little article ran about that not too long ago of just the future of developable property in Kenton County. What does it look like as the Brent Spence Bridge comes? That's coming directly next to our building. It's not going to negatively affect us at all. Be Concerned will still be there, but it is going to just be zipping right through kind of the neighborhood. And then again, as rents do go up, as things are being renovated, we are seeing a number of our families that have lived directly in that kind of 2-mile radius of the agency not living there anymore.
Yeah.
And then even like our neighboring apartment just got purchased by a new landlord, and 6-person, all eviction at once. He's going to flip the entire thing, and then the
Yeah.
rent's going to be way
So
a lot
the
more.
house flipping market that's kind of like happening in the river cities is affecting you guys.
It will. It's affecting.
I mean,
the
it's
folks
affecting
that,
everything,
I mean, it's affecting the
but-
folks that we serve. Rising rents are definitely. I would say that if you ask Be Concerned's people while they're there, the overwhelming people would probably tell you that it's the increase in rent right now, and then also the inflation at the grocery store.
I just shared something on Facebook yesterday. There's a new building, not a new building, a new apartment in an office building. They're making tiny apartments. They're 500 square foot, but the rent is $1,300 a month.
Yeah, I mean,
So, and it's on the news, and it aggravated me because the news is kind of portraying this like this is a good thing or it's normal.
Yeah,
Florida, that $1,300 a month is not normal
Well, and
for
there-
a 500
I had a
square foot
3-bedroom
apartment.
house in Union for that renting the same price.
You never get that now. It's
Like
like
back in
2,500 now.
2017.
And they're changing the way we talk about housing too. So, right, like low income housing is not being talked about as much anymore because they're transitioning to what they're calling income aligned housing. So, having housing in certain areas that are aligned with the jobs in that area. The problem is, like you said, if you take a look at the data, it's a little bit old, so I'm sure it's higher than this now, but the old number was you had to pay people $16 an hour in Covington to be able to afford a 2-bedroom apartment. I think it's $18 an hour now is what the newer number is.
And that's really not affording it.
And how, like, a lot of the jobs that we do have around here, realistically looking at it, are, you know, our places at 5th and Philadelphia paying people $18 an hour. I don't want to speak for them, but I'd probably say not. So then you get dual married couples or 2 adults in the household working, or one single mom working 2 jobs. And then you're working 80 hours a week to basically just pay the basic expenses for your family. And that's not...
That's what's insane to
It's
me,
not
is
sustainable.
In the 50s and 60s, you would have one person working in the house. You know, usually the wife would stay home and do the house stuff. And they
there
could
for the
live
kids.
comfortably off of one income, off of a 40-hour week. But now you need 2 incomes and maybe even 2 jobs to just pay the bills.
Right.
I don't understand economics right now. It doesn't work.
Right. If I wasn't a West Sider that was like used to going to yard sales my whole life, used to going to rummage sales, I enjoy it. I mean, my wife has been a homemaker for over 7 years, and me working in the nonprofit, that's like unheard of. But that part of it is like what we can do. But that's where my wife and I are talking now. Like now's kind of got to be the time for her to re-enter the workforce, because it's even hard for us to keep up, to be honest. So it's been hard personally for us to try. I feel for our families because I see my family now, and like my kids are learning the lessons that they've never really had to learn before of, you can get name brand Lunchables for your trip to the zoo, but you're not getting popsicles for dessert. Like we got to balance out what wants and needs here.
It's ridiculous.
And it's been a newer thing, correct. Yeah. But I feel for a lot of our families because me and Steph are kind of in that spot right now to where it was one thing of paying for childcare. So it made sense for us that what she was making at her job at Kroger at the time it was just going to cover childcare. We're not going to have somebody work 40 hours a week just for babysitting. So she's been a child care provider for my youngest and my oldest, and a couple of our friends' kids over the years. But now that all the kids are going into like first grade, there's that gap from 8 o'clock to 2:30 to where we're trying to say now's got to be the time to find something part-time to try to get back into, because we've been able to survive, but we're not setting ourselves up for future success. And that's, I think, what gets a lot of our families, is a lot of our families at Be Concerned, they can survive, right? But COVID taught us everything. If you stop people's paychecks for a month, most of the world's in trouble.
Yeah.
Somehow we've all been convinced that the middle class is, can you pay for your bills 2 months if you don't have income? That's not the middle class our parents grew up in. That's not the middle class it was ever. And that was the big lesson during COVID was, I mean, we're all middle class people, but if you stop everybody's income for 60 to 90 days, everybody's not. There is no middle class people anymore.
I don't think there's a middle class anymore. I think it's
thinning.
I think it's making it or not.
Right.
And that's literally it.
Yeah, and that's my personal story. I mean, if
There's
something
no
happened to
middle
me,
ground.
we'd be in trouble.
I'll tell you the most annoying thing about all this is, like all of us in the room are pretty much around the same age, and we all worked very hard to get where we're at. And if we were making this amount of money now in the economy of, like 10 years ago, we would be doing all of us are doing very well.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
But like you said, we're all barely scraping, everyone's barely scraping by. And to what you said, what about those people who are like us 10 years ago trying to find our way and trying to find, the job or what we wanted to do with our lives? How are they even surviving at all right now?
Right, and working multiple jobs, that's the real answer. I mean, there are so
The
many
answer is
people
guys
working.
like y'all.
Yeah,
honestly.
I mean, again, it's hard to not take pride in what the team at Be Concerned does. And that's been the newest flavor there, is it's not me and Dave's Be Concerned. And that's what we've been telling people. It's not Andy, Dave, and Paul's Be Concerned anymore.
You guys have blown up.
Yeah, it's their squad.
You've accomplished the mission. And now, what about this? This model that you've created, can you put that in a bubble and start putting it other places in the world?
Yeah. So as we go into long-term planning, that's one of the things we've realized is, one, it's not the best look on any neighborhood you're in to flood that neighborhood with people who don't live there to come get service. It's just in general. It doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter if it's a drive-in theater, a roller rink, whatever. Bringing outside people into the community is something that we always pay attention to. Goes back to finding those pockets we've talked about. So with our mobile unit that we have a frozen trailer now. So we can actually take the entire food pantry out and we can serve like 50 people at a time in their residences. On the secondary note, it's hub and spoke model is what we've realized. So in the future, to feed the 9 northern counties of Kentucky, we can't do all that out of Covington. It's too much time on the road. So what we need is strategic partnerships. So we're launching one with Silver Grove next, but we're going to work with the fire department and the school out at Silver Grove to see if one time a month they can reopen the school for us to come out and that like volunteers from the fire department help Be Concerned people give out food to feed Silver Grove.
Yeah.
Down the road, again, west side Cincinnati, I haven't been inside a gas station to buy my beer in like 10 years because I just drive through a pony keg.
Yeah.
Taking a look at shutdown Jiffy Lubes, those kind of models throughout the greater Commonwealth is a really good idea.
So little hubs. That way you're not bringing in crowds into that area.
Correct.
It's
And then you're
breaking
not
it up.
insuring a brick and mortar agency. That's one of the things that got hard with Erlanger before we sold that building to the city of Erlanger was you have maintenance, you have upkeep, you have insurance, you have to have it staffed all the time. And if you're
Yeah.
taking care of 50 people at a time, like that site was, there's a way to do that through the mobile unit or a hub and spoke.
Yeah.
And that's what we're thinking is build a drive-through out in Grant County or Gallatin County somewhere and just say on these 2 days every month, this drive-through is going to be open from 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. You drive in, it's just the coolers. You just giant whiteboard, you tell us what we want right into your trunk and then you're out of there. Very low barrier, very low hands.
Yeah.
And that's the way to take care of the Commonwealth in the long run.
And it also gives people their time back, right? So like if you have a
Being
so
innovative, you guys
we,
are killing it.
well, we talk about the click list style model we do, and it's just it's a choice model, but it's very 1980s click list, right? So you circle stuff on a menu. So part of that I think would be developing some sort of online ordering system to give people their time back because we're all busy,
You
right?
need an
We've been
app.
talking about that.
You need an app.
Well, yeah, and that comes with a lot more fundraising and things
Right.
like that. But that's why we're involved in what we're involved in. But giving people that opportunity to basically have the same experience that you or I would have at a Kroger if we did a click list pickup in the parking lot, right? So you just come, you show your thing, you get scanned, and then we know what bags of yours are already pre-packed, and that would just help us increase our efficiency and be able to serve as many people as
make it
possible.
smooth, yeah.
And again, it just gives the people their time back, right? Because those people got places to be. They don't have time to sit and do this, that, or the other. So
And that's where we're trying to target our workers. So in a beta test, if we could ever get an app built, that's where we'd look at a Saturday and
Yeah.
we would go ahead and say this is for people kind of working through the week or tied up through the week. There's been a couple platforms we've seen that are pretty neat. It's like a restaurant model. So someone accesses your app.
Yeah.
Once they submit their order, they pick a time. They're going to be there a 15-minute window. And then as soon as they click submit, that ticket goes to your food pantry, just like that old bar I used to work at.
Yeah.
Chicken quesadilla, no onions.
Yeah.
And so that comes right back to your pantry. And they said that I think NKU uses that model right now.
Yeah, so technology is solving some problems.
It is. And then it goes to the double-edged sword, the good side of the senior bubble we're about to get. That thing that we've always been challenged with at Be Concerned is we kill a lot of trees right now with our paper menus because we serve a lot of seniors that can't do it.
Mm-hmm.
In 10 years, we're not going to have seniors that aren't familiar with the internet.
Yeah.
They are...
Yeah.
Even right now for the families we serve, if they have a kid in school, they're all connected online some way.
Yeah.
So trying to keep our technology up to speed with what we've always been respectful of, which is our current senior population. But also, what's that going to look like when our 50-year-olds are 60 in 10 years and they're doing everything on their phone. So trying to get prepped for how do we take care of people that will always need a little TLC, and we do. I mean, we still have illiterate people that come to the food pantry. So, we still have people that we read for and we
Yeah.
fill their stuff out. We've hired a translation assistant, which has been terrific. She
Yeah.
uses like Google Voice and other translation devices. For a long time, we thought it was Spanish speakers, but we have French speakers, Pashto speakers, a couple French Creole speakers. Those might be my favorite. So mayonnaise is mayonnaise. That's one of the things we've been able to translate. But what we realize is the premium is not making sure that you can speak to your Spanish-speaking clients. It's making sure you can speak to all your customers. And that
Yeah.
even works with American Sign Language. So if we have a couple of our customers are deaf, she'll pull up the stuff and be able to communicate with them. So again, trying to streamline,
The
and it goes back
technology's
to that
helping her
dignity
be a
model. Yeah, we want people to feel good.
multi-translator.
Yeah, and welcome. That's the other thing is it's not always the most welcoming environment when you're in a place where you're the only person speaking a different language. But with that comes the dietary needs. So some of our folks from the Middle East, they have different dietary restrictions because of faith than we do. And so we do have halal chicken, that kind of stuff that we're able to provide people off that choice menu.
So who are some of your largest partners that you partner with?
So we work with the Safety Net Alliance in Northern Kentucky. So that's the overarching group of about 150 organizations, businesses, schools, community groups in Northern Kentucky. We meet on the third Wednesday of every month at 12:30, and it's a big meeting where we go over kind of common trends in the social service safety net. We're a Freestore food bank partner, so Freestore helps us with some best practice stuff. They give us access to low price food, so we buy food from them. We work with Brighton Center through the Safety Net Alliance. We also do our big backpacks giveaway with them. Master Provisions is one of our local partners. The Life Learning Center, so we help them with some of their food for the students that are going through their programs. The animal shelters, actually. So when we get bad linens and stuff like that into the thrift store, we're green. We just don't throw them away. We go ahead and redonate those and repurpose them to, the pets can go chew them up. When we have bad meat, there's a wolf rescue, a wolf habitat.
Oh, yeah, I remember you telling me about that.
In Brookville. And
Yeah.
we actually send our oxidized meats out there with a volunteer, and the wolves get to destroy it, so we're not throwing all that stuff away.
That's
And
amazing.
then even local farmers. So we have a couple local farmers from time to time. If we have moldy bread or eggs that went bad, they'll take the stuff back and repurpose it for chicken feed, and they'll feed their animals. So trying to be as green as we can, and then even down to the thrift store, the items that we don't sell or give away, we actually repurpose to Salvation Army. Salvation Army comes and picks them up and takes them to their Norwood facility, and people staying in that rehab facility kind of work their time as part of the program, sorting donations, getting what they need, et cetera, et cetera. But we work with a pretty large network of.
What about some of your biggest donators, as in like Kroger, Walmart?
Yeah, so in-kind donations. Last year's only the second time in agency history that we bought more food than we had donated. And that's just because we have so many people coming. But we bought about 1.8 million pounds of food last year, and we had about 1.7 donated. So moving about 3.5 million pounds of food's a lot. So Kroger's one of our major retail partners. Last Mile Food Rescue is the newer outfit that's going around kind of picking up food on our behalf. So for years, Dave and I had to drive like 32 routes a week to go to all the stores. Last Mile Food Rescue is a charity. They're app-based. Volunteers pick up food rescues and take them directly to us. La Soup is a major donor and partner with us. So they repurpose food that's collected just like ours, but they have health mind behind it. So they're making like healthier meals, soups, TV dinners, family trays of lasagna, that kind of stuff. And then the local funders like the R.C. Durr Foundation, they just helped us buy our new building. Horizon Community Fund's been a partner. The Greater Cincinnati Foundation's a partner. The Butler Foundation are large funding partners. Those are what we call kind of the Northern Kentucky Funders Group that we do a lot of our work with. And then, like I said, we're just kind of a different beast charity. Our mailing list is about 4,000 people, and our average annual donation is about $250.
Wow.
So we don't have a ton of like big ticket single donors. We work that network
The
of
whole
folks.
community coming together.
Yeah, and Community
Yeah.
of Faith
So is there,
Presbyterian
like-
Church has been a big partner lately. So
So, my wife has a restaurant, and there's restaurant supplies. Have you guys reached out to them, like Performance Foods, Cisco Foods, Presto, stuff like that? Do they have?
a lot of it's hard because we're not allowed to open packages. So Be Concerned Zoned
Since
is a
it's bulk.
prepackaged retail. So we can't deal with bulk. We can, but we just have to find one family to give a bulk bag to. So where we've explored those relationships before,
That would kind of hurt.
that was
things
what our
more than
one
help.
hang-up's been. Now in the long run, we're talking hub and spoke model. I still have dreams. So one of the big dreams that I do have is as Be Concerned grows into an expanded facility in the future, we need to have the health department license and certification to be able to repurpose some of this food. Because we should be able to get a 50-pound bag of lettuce from like Cisco, and we should be able to put it with our pre-cooked chicken strips. We should be able to put them in a clear tote with sprinkled cheese, and we should be able to let you take those safely prepared as a salad. But that's a different level of health department credential that we need. So one of my goals is to get into what they call the repackage. And then there's a big difference in repackage and food preparation, right? So you're getting into all that. So we're not allowed to open bags and change anything. We have to give it out as it comes into us. If you have a prep license, then you can cook everything. If you have a repackaged license, you're dealing with already prepared food. Like,
I don't think that's super difficult either, because you have people doing it out of their home.
and some people do, and like Dave said, so Easter Seals Redwood is doing a pilot right now with Last Mile Food Rescue. So we're getting our first kind of repacks. I believe they're working with St. Elizabeth out of kind of their lunch line. So when St. Elizabeth has extra items, Last Mile will pick it up, goes to Easter Seals Redwood, then they repack it all. And then it comes to us, so families can take a thing of cheese and a thing of crackers and a thing of chili, if that makes sense.
Now, kind of that we're in the spirit of kind of how some ideas and future things you all do have, and if you all don't want to talk about it right now, but I think it's okay to go and talk about it as far as, you have a big golf that you're building for. Is there, can you all are you all able to speak
Yeah,
on that now and kind of bring that up?
Yeah, the
Because I think
mailer
that's
just
huge.
mailer just hit mailboxes this week, unless you're one of our special people like you that'll go to personal one for
Yeah.
the executive director. But the golf outing's entering its 27th edition. It is one of Be Concern's longest standing fundraising tradition. It is our longest standing
we
fundraising
need to
tradition.
take the podcast to the.
Yeah,
We'll go golf.
Yeah, the veranda is perfect for this.
there is. Yeah, so that's, we're not opposed to having the Rook podcast at the golf outing. But this year, September 4th and 5th at Twin Oaks in Latonia, Dave has done a good job making it more accessible this year. So for the first time ever on our website, you can register and print your golf materials. So all of that's on beconcerned.org. If you look under Get Involved, there's a tab about the golf outing.
It's a beautiful video with some awesome drone
It is
footage.
some Rook footage. It's awesome. The drone, I gotta say, I did a pretty nice pure Michigan narration over it, explaining the history of it. So I think that'll hit email boxes today. But our goal with the golf outing is always to net $100,000, which means we need to gross about $140,000 to cover all the overhead costs. We have been lucky. We had to split to a 2-day outing a few years ago. A lot of people said golf outings were dying. Be Concerned kind of put our nose to the grindstone and said, what can we do? It's been corporate
really
sponsorship that supports it a lot.
It's really fun, and this is a podcast for business owners, entrepreneurs. That's what it is too. It's like a bunch of higher up CEO type guys, business owners, stuff like that. And it is fun just filming it. I'm not even golfing. I'm out there just filming it. They're having beers, having drinks. We got the golf cart girls with the shots and all that. It's a good time.
And I got to say, ours has done well. So Dave and I, as we've done better at Be Concerned financially, we have gone to spread the wealth and play at some of our local charity partners' golf outings, and they all do a really good job. Ours is the last one left where you're not getting beer chips, you're not getting White Claw tokens. If you want it, you can get it. If it's White Claw or pop or beer throughout the day, we take care of breakfast, lunch, and a dinner. We do our Heart of Be Concerned at the Thursday event this year. Josh Hughes, one of our longstanding board members, he works for Crossroads. He does all of our IT. He's just been an awesome guy. He's going to get that award. But taking a look at Twin Oaks, they love when we're out there too because it's 2 full days. We bring out full flights of golfers, so we're going to put out 36 foursomes on the first day and probably close to 40 on the second.
Yeah, we've had no less than 72 golf teams the last 3 outings, so that's quite a bit in terms of.
That is a lot.
Yeah, and this year the need's greater than ever. I keep saying that, but we have a real problem coming off the Christmas store last year. Last year we broke the Christmas store record, 1,701 kids.
Yeah.
We took care of at the Christmas store. That is almost 6,000 gifts. That's actually more than 6,000 gifts. We give them 1 marquee gift, 2 smaller gifts, then extra stuff. So we went through more than 6,000 items last year in the Christmas store. We have some items left, but we just have the same 1,000 of 3 different kinds of action figures. So unless kids are going to wake up with their brothers and sisters next year and open up the same Marvel character, we need some more help. So we're going to change the golf outing this year to a Christmas theme, and we're going to ask golfers to bring new Christmas gifts to the golf outing. And then we're offering Christmas store and boardroom sponsorship for the first time is the takeaway for the golf outing this year. We do need help with sponsors and golfers to come out and play. I will say for people listening to the podcast, more business is being done on the course there over the past 10 years than was
That's what
the
I was
prior
trying to
17.
allude to.
Yeah.
And
it's
it
a
is
bunch of like-minded men, and you will make connections at this.
And
too.
it's a great way to come out and have that captive audience with people you're doing business with for 18 holes. And also have 18 holes to where you're not worried about who's comping the breakfast, who's comping the lunch, who's going to run to the bar and comp the drink. So you take that aspect of, the dirtier side of our business.
There's coolers
swiping
set
the
up.
carpet.
There's stations set up with coolers, and they got the tap beers.
Correct. And I think most of our golfers know if you're out on a random hole and you need something, you just call me or Dave, and we will cart
I was
it right out
beer
there.
in one hand, camera in the other, and steering the golf cart with my knees.
That's part of what I do at the golf
times.
outing is I drive around in a golf cart and make sure the coolers aren't getting too low, make sure there's enough White Claws out there, Bud Lights, whatever. So
And we're bringing all our fun stuff back that golfers like. So the gift card grab will be there. That's the game where golfers give us $20 and they're guaranteed to get $20 or more back in a gift card. There's a couple $100 Ruby ones hiding in there, all that good stuff. We'll have the mug slide. People really like that. The old German style mug slide. We'll have that game out. Split the putt will be back out. So if anybody listening's ever been to our golf outing, Jay will be out on that hole shaking everybody down again. Last year, Payroll Partner sponsored a new game where you can move up a tee, so I think that's going to come back this year. Cool. And then Dave and I are adding a cornhole toss, a game of skill. So we're going to put a cornhole board really far away and charge foursomes money, and if anybody makes it, they get a cash prize. But we're going to stretch out a cornhole throw 50 feet and see who can hit it in there.
and if we can ever figure out how to safely hit golf balls at Andy, we have tossed that around as well. So
Yeah, I'll be out there with an umbrella, but we have not found a way legally to do that.
yeah.
Yes, and before anyone asks, no, we cannot have a cannon. Yes, we've asked 10 different times. No, the city of Covington will not allow for a cannon out at Twin Oaks. It is too close in proximity to all the local properties. So everybody wants to shoot the cannon, and Dave and I do have to tell you that we have been told officially now we will never be able to shoot cannons at Twin Oaks. So I am sorry if anyone's coming back.
One time, can I shoot the cannon? No,
Yes. Yeah, and we'll have a Pappy raffle, so there'll be a bottle of Pappy that's on raffle there. It's kind of our marquee event. And then our the golfers thank you raffles become one of our popular things.
Yeah.
So people support us. So that's instead of getting like cup holders or stuff like that for people, we've just decided to go out. We spend about $3,000 on booze, and then each foursome as a thank you gets to pick out a bottle they're going to take home and celebrate at a different time together. And that's been really well received by everybody.
Yeah, and the other thing I'll add about the golf outing, the great thing about our golf outing is that it gives you options, right? Thursday's a shotgun start, Friday's tee time. So whatever works for your business, your
The
partners.
shotgun start is so cool.
Yeah, the shotgun start is pretty awesome, but the tee time is, works better for some people who have to, work on that Thursday or whatever. So we have options for people. It's never been easier to get involved with the Be Concerned
Thursday.
golf outing. So, and yeah,
We're doing it.
you guys be welcome to come out and do your podcast live, smoke cigars on the veranda.
We want to golf, and it's like we can actually probably go live on the iPhones and broadcast on the gimbal.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll hand it
Well,
back. We'll hand it back and forth.
I think
I'll work with you, Luke.
I think the one thing that I really want to get across to this, and I guess I should do this at the end, but I mean, I'm just going to take that now because we got to do our famous spirit animals.
Yes.
You're next, but one thing I want to get across in this podcast, I'm going to be very transparent with this, and heck, maybe even a little emotional. Is like, this is a very transparent story for me. Everybody looks at me and they say, you know what? This guy, you're nuts. You work 4 jobs. You do this. You do that. Josh, you need to spend more time with family, or you need to do this. And I always just respectfully smile and say, okay, well, I'm one income, right? My job for my family is to make income. My job for my family is to be the protector. I have a beautiful wife that's an amazing homemaker, okay? Just like you mentioned, daycare is ridiculous, okay? Childcare is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Now I'm spending $450 to $500 a week on groceries. There are people out here hurting that you do not realize are hurting people,
Yeah.
okay? I had to get personal help with Lindsay with our last pregnancy. Thank God they have medical, assistance in the government. I always judged people for that. I'm embarrassed to say I judged people for that. And I need help. So,
Yeah.
I'm passionate about this. And
And
I appreciate letting us be on the board.
that's a lived experience we talk about because all of us have been there. I mean, at the Mount, I was one of those kids, I didn't have a meal plan, so I was one of the kids that just had to go and I didn't eat all the time. And if it wasn't for other people swiping their cards for me, I would have had, I was out of luck. That's one of the jokes I tell the Mount now is I'm a big Mount supporter. I've been on their board. But, I was one of those students. That, most colleges don't want there. Like you said, there's a stigma there of people that can't provide for themselves or whatever and they got to ask for help. And at the end of the day, that's why I love Be Concerned, is it's affected so many regular people. And it gets emotional for me talking about COVID because a few of those times opening that front door at Be Concerned, they were people that had been donors to the agency over time. And they were coming back because they needed help for the very first time in their life. And that is such an uncomfortable thing to have to ask for that help.
Yeah.
And that is why we make it easy for people. And it's the same thing I talk to our grade school kids about. Do you like to ask your parents for help? No, nobody does. Imagine being an adult and having to come and ask for help with like food, clothing, and Christmas. Like what society has all of us pre-programmed to be the basic things you take care of your family. And how hard does it have to be for anybody the first time to show up at a place like Be Concerned and look at a guy like me and Dave and have to actually beg for help? And at the end of the day, that's what we decided years ago. We're not going to make people beg. We're going to get the basic information we need. We don't even take social security numbers because there's no reason to. There's no rule that we have to. Some of our people might have to for a different program they're in. But at the end of the day, low barrier, trying to keep people from being judged. And then always reminding people that people are just like 90 days away from having to be in the situation themselves. And our board is taking care of us. I mean, that's the other thing.
I remember back in the day when my family was living off of, church food. It was pretty difficult to get. Like we had to submit our rent receipts and our electric bill and
Yeah.
all types of stuff, and they would like, well, it seems like you're worth $50 of food,
Yep.
or you're worth $75 worth of food this month, and it's like, it sucks. It really does.
Yeah, or they want to talk to you about a budget. Maybe we should budget with you and
Yeah,
try
you'd
to
have
figure
an
out where you're
interview-
spending your money.
You'd have an
wrong, or-
interview with these people,
Right.
and yeah, they would.
And sometimes you just need like
It was-
a
it
little
sucked.
bit of help. Like where you're a successful individual, you're like, crap.
Right.
Something
Yeah.
just happened.
Right. I
You
think
know,
if
like,
I-
Right,
that's-
right. Anybody
that's
can
what we
lose their
want to
job,
understand.
and like you said, if you lose your job in 2 weeks, you're hurting. Period. Right, now. So
And there are other families that we serve that are just like they're responsible people. So that they go out of the way, out of their schedule to come to the food pantry every month over the course of the year so they can take their kids on a small vacation every summer. And that's exactly what people should be doing. You know, if you're going to actually budget and you have a business plan for your family, there are a number of families that come to us and that is kind of their plan. If I can save $150 a month over the course of the whole year, then I have $1,000 to take the kids to Great Wolf Lodge or something over the summer for a small vacation. And that family's willing to come 12 times a year. Now, the average family does only come between 4 and 5 times. So the other thing is families only come to us when they need us.
yeah.
But the families that do come kind of on a more constant basis, it's because they've got it budgeted in their budget. And that's why we keep the staple
Yeah.
items of the monthly pantry the same.
It's helping raising their quality of life. Now they don't have to
Exactly.
worry about paying for that
Yeah,
food.
and with that promise of the staple items, they know for a fact that like those 35 items, we're going to provide them every time they're there. So they don't have to worry about buying X, Y, and Z anymore. As long as they come to us, we're going to promise that we're going to have it. And like I said, a lot of people use that to kind of supplement their budgets. But even the clothing vouchers and stuff, it's hard. That's where we see a lot of families that maybe aren't even coming in for food, but when school gets back in and families go to Walmart or whatever to buy their kids.
$250, $300 a kid.
And that's what a lot of our families have just started saying. It doesn't matter what it is, whether it's a car repair, back to school shopping, Christmas shopping, everything's $1,000. And they keep saying the $1,000 is the new $100 of the 90s and early 2000s. Is you know, in the 90s you say it's $100, people would bat an eye at you, and now we just got brakes done for my wife, and it was like $1,800 for brakes on a van. And it's you just get to the point to where everything's $1,000 seems to be the minimum for taking your family out for Christmas shopping or back to school shopping or a month of groceries, like you said, is well over $1,000 now.
I mean, yeah,
It's
just
crazy.
think about
Like looking from a business standpoint, like I've changed my business within the last year or so, but back when I was doing like a lot of insurance work and stuff like that for roofing, it was hard to even give some of these people these numbers of what things cost. And, you know, $14,000, $15,000 for a roof, you know, it sounds like I'm making a lot of money, but I have to pass this on to, you know, my contractors and the supply house. And yeah, I make decent money off of a roof, but I don't make $5,000, $10,000 off a roof. You know, that's $12,000 for my contractors and, you know, supplies and stuff like that are running back and forth and coordinating with the insurance company for a month. So you got, you know, 30, 40 hours into a job that you may make $500, you know? So it's like, it's just like working a 9-to-5 job for a paycheck.
Right.
And it sucks because you're working for these middle class families and you have to pass that bill and then you charge them their deductible and that's $1,000 and it just keeps going and going and going and it's like it's ridiculous. Everything is $1,000.
Yeah, tires. I just
It's
got
ridiculous.
tires. Everything's $1,000. So 4 new tires is gonna be $1,000. You know,
I
it's
think
just
that the industries and economists and stuff like that, they have figured out how to squeeze us for everything at this point. You know, like
They
back
know
in the
exactly
day,
what
they
we
weren't
need.
doing that. They were trying to create products that were last long.
right.
And you know they were high quality. They design things now to crumble over certain times, so you go buy another one.
Oh yeah, there's a
So, like,
reason my
everything's
grandparents. Yeah,
designed to squeeze us for every dime.
They
Yeah,
know
there's a reason
exactly
yeah.
what we need.
They know right where we're going to hit our breaking point and collapse.
Yeah,
and they
I'm
take
on
us
like
right
refrigerator.
there.
Yeah,
But they
we're
don't
on
let us hit that. They're
refrigerator.
like right above it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They're
because
like, right before we're all about to die, they're like, send them a stimulus.
Could you imagine? Yeah, could you imagine telling your grandparents that they were
$4.
going to have to buy 3 or 4 refrigerators over the course of their lifetime? They would have had a stroke. Because same thing, my grandparents when they passed away, Their chest freezer from the 60s is still running
still
down
sitting
there.
there,
Yep.
faithful.
Yep. And we had to cut it out to get it out because it was bigger than all the renovations they made. And then same thing, my other set of grandparents, their old GE fridge from, the 60s. That sucker's still motoring full gas, and it's been used. They had 9 kids. 9 kids in that household. That thing's being opened probably 100 times a day, and that still rocking and rolling good. I can't keep one for more than 3 years in my house without a part
I
going
have a
bad or a
story
motor
about-
going bad.
Junk, basically. So about our restaurant. So we have 2 HVAC units in our restaurant, one for the kitchen, one for the dining room. Well, the HVAC unit for the kitchen decided to go out, which it's only 6 years old. But the bad thing is the EPA has changed the refrigerant where you can't use the 404 refrigerant anymore. So you have to basically replace your whole entire unit. So it went from a $400 fix, if this was still allowed, to a $13,000 replacement.
Yep.
Why? Why are they doing this? It's like they know. And I know 10 years down the road they're going to change it again and it's going to happen again. It's like, it seems like everything is in cahoots with each other.
Right.
It's ridiculous.
That's how the economy works. It's all, each thing is pushing each other, and we do illogical things as a species in order to keep that economy moving. Like, we could probably already have flying cars that ran on electricity and water and all that.
Right.
We don't have that because we have an oil industry,
Right.
They'll never let that happen. It's just
All right,
like the
let's
guy-
not go down a conspiracy hole. Here we go. But there's 2 things that we got to get done before we wrap this up. One, I want you to give me the 3 gives or whatever,
Yeah.
the 3 ways to give, and then we got to do spirit animals on
Sure.
you guys again.
Cool.
Go, hit me
Yeah,
with it.
so Be Concerned makes it easy to give, and we know that your opportunity and capability to give changes over the course of your life. So Be Concerned chases the 3 T's from our supporters: time, talent, and treasure. We know when you're younger, a lot of time it's easier to give your time to come down. We know when you're at the height of your working career, maybe it's a little easier to just send us a check and say we're thinking of you. And then, throughout any time of people's life, we need professional help. Like Josh is on our board, so taking a look at how do you give like your actual professional talent to come down and say I want to help lead this place and be a sounding board for Andy, make sure I don't go to jail. Right. You can sign up for almost all of those on Be Concerned's website. So we've got an opportunity. Go to beconcerned.org, click on the ways to give. Time, talent, and treasures on there. We even have planned giving set up for there. So a lot of people have been calling and asking about estate gifts as their parents are getting older. So we even have all that attorney and documentation and all that fun stuff if you're trying to be a treasure giver to us. Big thing we're asking, we'll have a Bengals raffle go on in August. So keep your eyes on the Be Concerned website because we do have raffle time. And when the raffle time
4
hits,
season tickets, right?
so 4 season tickets. Yep. For
Good seats.
Yep. Good seats.
Joe Burrow.
Exactly. Joe Burrow.
Joe Burrow.
And then we'll have the golf outing
Burrow.
too coming up.
Joe Burrow.
Exactly.
Be concerned.
Yeah, and if Joe, if
.org.
you're listening, 1100 Pike Street, we're waiting for you.
Yes. Stop on by anytime. All right. Spirit animals. Who's going first?
Spirit animal.
Who's going first?
I only have one answer I will be allowed to give for this. or I think
Hey, did
the
we
entire-
remember what we gave him last time now?
I have no idea.
I don't either.
But I've got one.
I bet
Wait,
mine's the same.
Are you giving us spirit animals?
Yes.
Oh, even
Okay.
better.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And I'm going to cheat and I'm going to do one altogether because I do think it all goes. So I believe it is a great whale.
Oh.
Here is the reason.
Is it because
Not
I?
because of like.
I was like,
What the hell?
because
Not
I'm
because
chubby.
I've got a belly or anything. I'm just saying this. Great whales are known for a few things. One, they can.
What the hell is
they're-
a
when
great
they're-
whale? Wait a minute. What
Well,
the
just
hell?
a whale of any kind.
You say
right?
gray or great?
They're all great.
All right, the great. Wait a minute.
A whale.
So a whale, that
Not one of the bitch whales, a great one.
A great whale.
Okay.
Anyways, to me, it's a great species. Okay. I
This is
just
like
made
Star
it do-
Trek,
They're mammals.
Exactly.
like those
So, yeah.
great whales. Okay.
Yeah.
When they're in the water, they can. I mean,
I
they
think that's
hear.
what
They
it's
can.
going
They can see stuff. Or not really. They can sense stuff coming from a long ways away. I feel like you guys are actually looking in the future and trying to be proactive on how you guys are helping. They actually protect. They protect some species from sharks and everything else. And they're in a big body of water, and you're on a big. You're dealing with a lot of different things and helping
Protecting
people
the
out.
community, helping
and
the
protecting the
community
community. So yeah,
A
it's
great whale.
Okay, big great whale.
Yeah, that went way opposite of what I thought.
One
It's a great white shark.
The
and a
Ohio
blue
River
whale.
whales.
Yeah, I thought
It's
you
a
were
mixture.
gonna. Yeah, I thought you were gonna talk about their siphons that were grifters. I said, where is Tungate going with this one?
Yes.
All right, Richie,
Oh,
you got
okay.
I feel like mine's about to kill it, so
Okay,
per
so
usual, I'm
I
going
have
with this
two.
one. You have
I'm
two?
going to give you a border collie.
Okay,
And the reason,
okay.
and
I
the
like
reason
that.
why is because you're very passionate about what you do. So are border collies, and they lead the herd. They lead their herd. So that's what I feel like you are. And I have a water animal like Josh, except mine is a dolphin for you.
Okay.
And a dolphin for you is because dolphins are very creative. They're very friendly, and mainly the creativity part. You know, they swim underwater, they blow bubbles for people, and you know that they're creative. And I feel like you have a bunch of creative things that you've came up with for this, and that's why. So there's mine.
I like these. I like these. All right. And I think all of us are picking things that animals that are very intelligent. That's what
Of
we're all
course.
picking.
I mean, it seems
Whales,
like-
dolphins. I'm going to go prehistoric with this guy here.
Uh-oh.
Dun, dun, dun. My guy is a woolly mammoth.
Oh, baby.
A woolly mammoth. What the hell is a woolly mammoth?
A woolly mammoth.
A woolly
Woolly or
mammoth.
Golly,
If you guys
your
got
animals corrected. Study your animals.
I was even going to say or an elephant, and I think that's what I called you last time. And it's like because they have like this heart, and they're very intelligent animals, and kind of to touch base almost on the whale thing. That like in the jungle, they say that, like the lion's the king of the jungle, but like if you ever watch any real stuff, it's the elephants who run
They
stuff
really
out
do
there.
run shit.
They run shit, bro.
Unless it's a mouse.
And they'll stomp
They
a
don't fuck with
lion
mice.
out real quick, you know, like but they're gentle and they're kind. You know, they have all this power and intelligence, and they do not use this for evil. They use it for positivity.
Protection.
Yeah, so that's why woolly mammoth or woolly mammoth, and I still say
Willie Nelson.
woolly mammoth or an elephant is what I kind of the vibe of the spirit animal. Now, Dave, mine and yours is kind of the same on that a little bit. I was going to say an octopus. So an octopus is very intelligent. And I don't know if you've ever seen the things like they'll try to put an octopus inside of a box, and it'll like stick its tentacle out somehow and figure out how to unlock the lock. And so he's like figuring out ways around things,
Yeah.
you know.
I
I
gave somebody
really,
else
I
an
really think
octopus.
that's how your mind works. You're like, everybody's like, man, we need more money to feed people, and you're like, what if we just,
Sticks his tentacle out.
Yeah.
He's like, what if we just go door to door and ask for everyone's like shit that they don't have and sell it on eBay for profits? And raise like another, $30,000, $40,000 off that on the side. What the fuck? Who would think of that? Like, like just innovatively thinking of ways to come up with that money, and I think that's a quality
I do
to
have
bring.
a question before we close about the eBay thing. How is that handled? Who handles all of that? That is a lot of work. I had an eBay store at one
watched him do
time, and it is a lot of fucking work.
It is. So we took a small break from eBay when we started eTabs because Dave was doing most of the work with that. The problem is once you kind of tell your volunteers that we're doing that, everything is collectible. So Dave and I were just having offices filled with tchotchke stuff that is not valuable at all. Everybody thinks it is because they saw it on eBay listed for $500. So we've repositioned kind of eBay.
But does it sell?
Well,
Well, in reality, a lot of that stuff was just like, you hate to use the terminology like boomer stuff, but it's just like, long and burger baskets, things that just were popular in the 90s, but just no one really wants anymore. that
So
kind of
how did
stuff,
you guys handle customer returns?
so that's one of the reasons we shut it down. We got burned on a Joey Votto bat. So
Figured.
we knew it was going to happen at some point,
Yeah.
but Dave shipped it out, person got it. They tried to tell us they got 2 bats and they wanted to return one to us. We knew it was a scam, but long story short, they got the bat and they got their money back. And so that was kind of a thing. Let's until we get a designated person. So
That happened to
Katie-
me a lot.
Yeah,
Well,
so
I was
Katie
reselling
was-
shoes
Oh,
and it
it's-
happened.
So that's what we're doing.
So
is-
many times.
Yeah, primarily shoes and apparel right now. So Katie, who's our other development team member, Katie's background is in like consignment stores. So we've realized our volunteers don't know that much about clothing and that much about shoes. They're not willing to go like pull them and put them in an office. And it lets us to go down at the store kind of our own time and pull stuff. So I pulled some Star Wars stuff yesterday that came in. I pulled it, and then half of it got put out for sale. But like I go to the toy shows to sell that stuff. I learned we were doing some of that on eBay, and the easier part was once the Xenia toy show became big, it's like if there's just collectible stuff, I can take it up there, and you end
Yeah,
up
just
moving
take
it for
the stuff
close to
directly
eBay
to the
price.
I will say
Yeah.
there's something new out there that may not be super new, but it's new to me. It's called Whatnot.
Yeah, I
Oh,
was
yeah.
gonna say that too.
Yep.
Whatnot's
That
blowing up.
that has blown up pretty big, and it's a live show. It is a 30-second auction on the item. The customer pays the shipping. I don't believe there's any returns on this,
No, that's
and it's quick.
so a lot of people are moving the toys and the collectible
Yeah,
toy
yeah,
market right
and
now is just advertising.
I know
the
two
Whatnot
people
auction.
that are making $500,000 a year off of liquidation stuff, basically junk.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. I have a friend that's doing Pokemon. He has a Pokemon show, and it's pretty cool. So
Yeah, and part of it's space for us. So again, with more space, we
Yeah.
can get more innovative because we should be just on the same line of commerce, scrapping. So like we're very green with everything. So we take our metal, we put it off for like local neighbors to take and scrap, just because we don't want to put it in the trash. In reality, every time we get a ceiling fan donated that doesn't work, we should have someone that's stripping that down because there's real money in the scrap game. I mean, there just is. And it's one of the things
You gotta
that we can
allocate
do
your
better on.
resources, though.
You do, and it's space. So for us,
What's
it's
giving you
space.
the most?
Well,
you know?
and do you want to be stripping down copper anywhere close to where you serve your food? No. So that's the other thing is realizing with opportunity we can expand to do a little bit more, but there's got to be frontward thinking strategy there.
you guys familiar with the Restore? Mm-hmm. Is that what they do? Is that they go in for renovations and they take all the fixtures and they
So
go
people
resell
donate to them. So just like us, people take stuff to them there, and then they repurpose it. I mean, that's where my couch is from at my house.
Really?
Yeah, so I bought a decent amount of stuff. Our washer and dryers from Restore actually.
I went in there a couple times. I mean, sometimes they have some pretty cool stuff.
Yeah.
It's always sold when I go in there. I'm like,
Blinds.
"Shit."
I go for blinds. My kids break our blinds all the time, and that's a good place to go get cheap blinds, especially like the tall ones like those.
Really?
Nice. Well, guys, we want to thank you again for coming out for the second
you.
time.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
It's actually going to work.
This one's gonna work.
It worked. We were live the whole time.
Can't take anything back.
There, I'm good.
Yeah, beconcerned.org if you guys want to give to one of those 3 T's. Everybody has something to give. You can give your time or your treasure, your professionalism, or just give them some money. That's the easiest way to do it. If you're looking for a place to donate to, this is the one that you can feel, all right, we know where it's going. All right? Guys, till next time, make your move.